live in Los Angeles, Mover Nation. It's Friday the 13th. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening to me, thank you for making me a part of your day. Thursday thoughts on a Friday, a frightening Friday, scary Halloween time, Friday the 13th. Lots of things to get into. Thank you for checking me out. If you are new to the program, I'm Collier Landry. This is Moving Past Trauma. Let's get into it.
Testimony continued today in the most notorious criminal trial in...
When I was 12 years old, my testimony sent my father to prison for murdering my mother. This podcast serves as a type of therapy and reconciliation for myself, and it is my hope that it helps anyone who has experienced deception, betrayal, and dark trauma. I'm Collier Landry, and this is Moving Past Trauma.
Mover Nation, welcome back. So good to see all of you. Apologies about yesterday. I was doing an interview up in Santa Barbara in the area of Montecito, which is home to Oprah Winfrey and other famous folks. And I was on a program that was very, very cool. And I thought I would be back in time to do the live. I tried to do it from the road, and I logged on and nobody was here. But several of you emailed me, thank you very much for that, by the way, and said, hey, we were there, we were waiting for you. And I was like, I was there, I was waiting for you. But alas, here we are. I, of course, forgot to press record on my end. It wouldn't be life without technical difficulties, that for sure. Yes, so I was in Montecito. I was on Good Life TV, which is, if you are in the Santa Barbara area, it airs on Santa Barbara television. In a couple of weeks, they'll do a YouTube thing as well. I will tweet it out. I'll share it with y'all, and y'all can check it out. But it was a lot of fun, and it's interesting because, this program has been, I've been doing these lives now on my YouTube channel since about March. So we're into, our 7th month. And I'm still just figuring it out, as if you can't tell. But, technical difficulties today. I had hoped to have a different setup going, but it's just not happening. Every time I seem to disconnect my computer and travel and do things, and the last couple of months, last 5 weeks have been very chaotic with travel and work stuff. I'm traveling again next week, so there will be no Thursday live next week. But there will potentially be a video, but we'll see. So trying to get into a rhythm and then having everything bucked in the middle of it is definitely a challenge for sure. I'm looking at some of your comments here. Well, I'm so glad that you guys had a great chat. I was almost blindsided by a Tesla. I was driving up the freeway. I was trying to connect with y'all, and this Tesla comes up behind me, and they're obviously driving very obnoxiously, and they almost sideswiped me. And so it was interesting because I had made not a declaration, but I had talked about on the program about things that were fulfilling in my life. And one of those things is connecting with y'all and sharing my story. And I'm still trying to figure out how all this really relates. I've been doing this podcast now for a year and a half, and it is definitely very emotionally rewarding and socially rewarding. It has been very arduous to keep the lights on, to say the least. I think everybody thinks that they start a podcast and just people just dump companies and individuals and everyone dump piles of money on you. And unfortunately, that is not the reality. Same thing for YouTube, but it costs a lot of money to do it. But I was discussing sort of and I'm in a part of a group with YouTube creators, and we're always doing sort of mastermind type things and keeping each other accountable and really trying to figure out what my direction is for this channel. And so that was going to be my Thursday thoughts discussion, but it's going to lead into the Friday, frightful Friday the 13th. Tina Luffman, thank you so much for the super sticker. Greatly appreciate it. Your support is always appreciated. Thank you. It is Friday the 13th. It is the spooky holidays, and I have a confession to make. And that is that I have never in my life seen Friday the 13th, the movie. Now, I was at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights a couple of nights ago with Tara Newell, and I admitted that to her because I did not know. I've never seen it before. And I grew up around that time where those movies were very popular, and I think things like Halloween, Friday the 13th, all of these things, all the spooky, scary movies, Chucky, Bride of Chucky. I just never got into them. I don't know why. My mom wasn't a big fan of them. I remember watching Michael Jackson's Thriller, which actually scarier in real life Michael Jackson than in Thriller. And I thought, oh, okay, this is a little spooky. But I remember watching that on his television debut. I mean, I was like 5 years old or something. But so I'm a little embarrassed to admit, but also very glad, I guess. I have enough nightmares as it is, so I don't need them. Karen Fan, thank you so much for the super sticker. Appropriately named last name, by the way, Fan. But thinking a lot about this. Court McNeil, welcome. Coffee Buzz, you did not see it either. My kids laugh at me because I can watch true crime all day, but I can't watch the horror movies. Yes, so this is something that I'm driving up and I'm thinking about what my interview is going to be because I really have no idea. Now, I know that this show, Good Life TV, I had a friend, her name is Luisa Jovanovic. She was on the show. She referred me. She does life coaching and business coaching type things. And she's like, you got to meet Collier. You guys will love him. And I was thinking about, like, what are they going to ask me? And what do I talk about? And really, what is, like, the direction of my channel, my content, and what are you guys gaining out of it? There are a tremendous amount of creators on here that make true crime content. And true crime is something that is very interesting to me in a lot of ways, but not something that I am uber passionate about. I am curious about it. I do enjoy talking about it. I just don't know if I can talk about it 24/7. I watch, and because YouTube serves you, the algorithm, when you consume content, they keep serving you things. I was just at CrimeCon a few weeks ago. I got quickly interviewed by Vinnie Politan, who's on Court TV, right? Court TV. There's News Nation. There's tons of them. There's Law and Crime Network. And I have colleagues that are doing shows on these networks. And I think it's very, very cool. But I just don't know if I could ever make that my life. I think that my goal, and the reason why I'm discussing this is during this interview, I shared my story, obviously, like I always do. And the host kind of looked at me, he's interviewed a lot of people, and he said, do you do a lot of public speaking? And I said, well, not as much as I'd like to, but that I do use this platform and other platforms to get my story out and to encourage and hopefully motivate all of us. But I do think that I'm reading I Am the Gunpowder. She says, now I realize that I have survived Friday the 13th is Saturday here. Someday I will get lost in my own home. That's funny. I think that as I was thinking about it, the things that I'm passionate about, and somebody told me last night in our little YouTube group, they said, you know what you're about, Collier? You're about overcoming evil and standing up for what's right, what's true. That's your story. That's maybe your element. I said, absolutely. And yeah, I do love Vinnie Politan. I think it's great. I do, again, wonder about the very serious mental health aspects of consistently talking about murder, of consistently talking about violent crimes perpetrated towards women and children, etc. But I am also very curious about the psychology that goes on behind it. I'm completely fascinated with my father's psychology. Thank you so much, Janine K. Collier, I really wanted to say I really appreciate and enjoy your channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I agree. That is what you are about. I like Vinny too. Yeah, I mean, I think Vinny Politan does a great job of this, and my friend Joel Waldman does a great job at point guarding and quarterbacking and doing his show, Surviving the Survivor, and talking to all these people, and it is very cool. But I do think that I wonder how these things weigh on me, because a lot of my colleagues are like, you need to just go full on into true crime, and I look at a lot of the channels and like it gets very depressing. But I still like to analyze things. So I don't know. I'm in this floating sort of space, but I do hope, I guess my sincere thing is, I hope that all of you appreciate my story and what I'm about and what I've overcome and what I'm showing to you guys. And as I was explaining in the interview yesterday, that I thoroughly enjoy and get lit up with the fact that I am able to impact everyone in a positive way, where you can see that you can move through horrific circumstances and come out the other side okay. And as I say, I am not a psychologist. I'm not a psychologist. I am not law enforcement. I am not a lawyer. I am just a guy who's been through a lot of stuff. And I feel like that perspective is something that you guys, as my audience, value. So that's my moment just to talk to you, because I want to be able to sit here and do this. We got into this discussion last night. Oh, you can make a bunch of money on YouTube. You can make a bunch of money this and this. And I was even telling Tara Newell, and I love, and again, I do enjoy I'm not negative on true crime. I'm not negative on all that. I do enjoy that, but there is a very interesting aspect when you are making a conscientious choice to enter into something, and when you have been thrown into it. And I was thrown into it. I didn't have a choice. I am sharing my story with you guys and my audience, and I do that to share my story and sort of my coping mechanisms with all of it. I didn't just go, oh, I'm really interested in this thing. I guess if I had grown up differently and my circumstances were different, I probably would be extremely interested. Now I'm very interested in financial crimes and scams and schemes and things of that nature. So it's unfortunate that my Sam Bankman-Fried video got shut down last week, because I'm thoroughly interested in that. I'll be talking about that as well. Speaking of people who have come through tremendous circumstances, and if you would give me a moment. I have a very amazing guest next week for y'all. Next Wednesday, I have Elizabeth Stout joining the program. Elizabeth Stout is the host of the Trigger Therapy podcast. It's a fairly new podcast. But Elizabeth Stout is a survivor of the Parkland school massacre. And she decided to turn her trauma into purpose. And she created this show called Trigger Therapy. I'm going to be interviewing her. She's going to be on this show live with us. It's going to be a really great episode, because, again, showing and sharing these stories, I think, are really, really important. And Tara Newell and I do this also with Survivor Squad. But for you guys, my audience, that I love so dearly and that I wake up and think about this show all the time and what we're doing, I greatly appreciate it. And I want to just share it with y'all. Kathleen Welsh, thank you so much. Your perspective is genuine and honest. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Black Widower, thank you for your membership of 6 months. This is fabulous. Thank you very much. Court McNeil, or Murphy, says you are an amazing motivator. Thank you. I try to be. And again, as I'm, you guys are kind of coming on this journey with me, and I know I've discussed this before, but it's, we're entering the holidays. We're entering, I am looking for ways to level up and up this program more and more and more. And engaging with more people, and also the production quality. And really, it's why I get very frustrated sometimes when things don't happen the way I want them to. But as I talk with my fellow mates, content creators, like always evolving and growing and learning, that is something that I think is a very key part. So I want to bring more of that to you guys. So I'm tweaking it out, and I'm probably just sort of riffing, and I'm probably tired and and all of that, but yeah. Court McNeil says everyone has to row their own boat out of the rough sea, but you're a great example of a lighthouse encouraging everyone along. Thank you very much, Court McNeil. That's fabulous. Maybe I'll make the lighthouse my icon, because that's not a bad idea. You're a great guy and a speaker, Collier. So much introspection and therapeutic content. Thank you very much. I feel like my vulnerability is my superpower. But in a world where you're trying to chase, likes, subscribers, ad dollars, I'm figuring it all out, and it's quite a process for sure. By the way, how is the audio? Because I am here on Firefox because the program was not working for me, and that that is something that was kind of a bummer. So I'm hoping it's working good now because. Wild. I was going to pop something up here. So I would like to know, you, my audience, so some of you have mentioned you don't like the scary movies. I am someone who definitely does not. I think the things that disturbing things disturb me. Like I remember watching Saw, and I had a neighbor. I live in Los Angeles, and I had a neighbor who was in Saw 2 or 3 or 4, some iteration of Saw, and I watch those, and I think to myself, yeah, that doesn't really terrify me. But there was another one by the Saw people, and Eli Roth, that was called Hostel. I think Wilmer Valderrama was in it, and that was terrifying. Like being and shows like you guys ever watched Locked Up Abroad? That was a show. Oh my goodness. I mean, I would watch those episodes of those shows. Those things really terrify me. Being in situations, because I think we've all been, I don't know how much traveling you guys do. I know some of you are very well traveled. Some of you maybe are not, or do live in other parts of the world that you're hyper aware and sensitive to these things. But I remember I had a lot of friends that went to Thailand. I had a lot of friends that spent a lot of time in Mexico and South America who were partiers and would go and be crazy. And I've also done my share of that back in the day as well. And I remember watching Locked Up Abroad and thinking, like, how easy would it be for someone just to slip something in your bag, and then you're going through border protection or customs, and you get detained. That's scary. Like, that's real. That to me is way more scarier. Is way more scarier. Way scarier than the boogeyman hiding underneath the bed. The true evil that exists in the world. So perhaps my platform is overcoming evil. Maybe, I don't know. But Elizabeth Stout next Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Next Thursday, I will not have this program because I will be on an airplane going to Obsess Fest, part of the Obsess Network. Going to be speaking there. Going to be checking it out. Lot of issues, a lot of things circling around in the air with True Crime Obsessed, but they are, they have a great fan base, and my experience with them has always been very positive. So I'm looking forward to it. Tara Newell and I will be there next week. New episodes of the Survivor Squad out yesterday and today. Roberta Blevins, who's also joining us there, host of Life After MLM. I interviewed her on this program earlier in my lives a few months ago, and she was great, and she's going to be joining us as well. So she was a part of the documentary Lula Rich on Amazon, and it was a pretty interesting interview that we had. But yes, Rob Zombie's Halloween freaked me out. Yeah, and I was somewhere where I have what? I'm sorry, I was reading someone else's comment. I was filming somewhere. I want to say it was Washington State, but there's like a little indoor roller coaster, and you guys will know this. God, where was I? I want to say it's in Washington State, but there's an indoor roller coaster that Rob Zombie used in one of his movies. And a fantastic director. I've known many people who have worked with him, both as musicians and as actors and as film people, and they just say he's like way cool to work with. A little nutty, but like, aren't we all? I mean, come on. His mind is absolutely crazy. I did not dig his Monsters take, though. I watched the new Monsters. I was like, I wasn't really into it. But I think I was just like, I don't think it has anything really to do with him. I don't think I was into the Monsters, I have some friends that are really into the Monsters and Addams Family. And this is their time of year, too. Karen Fan says, Collier Landry, I have been here. I have not been here long as a member. But since I saw your docu, I've been a big fan. Literally. Your honesty, I love. Your determination amazes me. I am so very proud of you. Thank you so much, Karen Fan. That is absolutely wonderful to hear. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The Omen movie scared the crap out of me, and I was so stupid watching 3 of them. That's funny. Whoop whoop! Shout out to Washington. Okay, so did anybody say? Oh yeah, Vincent Price back in the day. I love horror movies. Yeah, The Ring. The Ring was super scary. The Ring, and then there was that series on Amazon, not Amazon, sorry, Netflix with Stifler's mom. What is her name? Jennifer Coolidge. Australian actress, was in Mulholland Drive, and a bunch of Naomi Watts is in it. Bobby Cannavale is in it. Oh man, I can't remember. When I was in New York last year, I went past the diner with Tara where they actually filmed some of the scenes in. Oh man, what is it called? Anyways, The Watcher. That stuff scares me. Like somebody watching you. That film, that series, literally scared the crap out of me. That would be terrifying. I can't imagine being into that. No, The Ring. Wanted to ask you how Vanessa Herrera says, I wanted to ask you, how was it to work with LP? I'm actually going to make a video about this because I was looking today, and I found another hard drive where I think I might have some of the behind the scenes of that shoot on. I just need to order the cable on Amazon. Because, that music video that I made for LP, so I directed 3 music videos for her way back in the day before, she was already well known as a songwriter, but this was at the start of, like, really, before her solo career blew up. I directed the Lost on You Live, which is very interesting because last Saturday night I got my haircut, and my my hairstylist guy, I was sitting in the chair and I was going through my calendar because I was adding something to the calendar, and the birthday of my my recording engineer was on that day, and I noticed it on the calendar, like, oh, happy birthday, Joshua Cartier Cutzinger. And as I'm seeing his name, and he was the engineer that worked on the shoot with me, my hairstylist says, hey, do you know who this LP is? This song, the music, and Eduardo is Latin. He is Cuban American, or sorry, not Cuban American. He is full-blooded Cuban, so rather. But he's an American citizen. But and he was an actor way back in the day, and he started singing the song, and I said, I directed that music video, right? And he goes, get out! And he had just come back from New Jersey, where he was visiting his brother and his sister-in-law, and his nieces, and which he loves terribly. And he shows me all the photos and everything. It's very cool. But he said, "Oh, she's the biggest fan. She was playing that song all week." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, I recorded all of that. I filmed all of it. I recorded all the music. We edited. I found the raw sound files today. And I'm looking for some behind-the-scenes stuff. So to answer your question, Veronica Herrera, she was fabulous. She was very cool, very down-to-earth, and I shot a lot of stuff. And I would love it if they would give me a credit on the music videos that I directed, because they have over 1.5 billion views combined, I think, now, something like that. It's a lot of views, and that's a lot for a content creator. I'd love to get a little bit of credit for sure. But yeah, you guys know I directed that. In fact, my engineer, I said, do you have any behind the scenes photos? Because at the time, I never took any photos of anything. Because, you're busy on set and you're working and you're there to be a professional. And I don't stop to say, hey, can we get a selfie together? Or, hey, let me take some photos. I do take continuity photos. Usually because I change setups a lot, so I'll often on set take continuity photos just for my own. So if I have to come back and relight a scene, I know exactly where everything was placed, lighting-wise and grip gear-wise. I'm trying to find the thing. I guess I could just search his name. But I was going to show these to you. To all the things I lost on you. Oh. Tell me, was I lost on you? If I showed this to you guys before, I apologize. But that is the set. Oh, that's his kid. The set, there's LP right there. So this is from my audio engineer who was there. And unfortunately, there's no photographs of me on the shoot. I thought I was like maybe here. This is him recording because we tracked everything on this music video live. But I thought maybe I was hiding over here. But yeah, I hung all those bulbs and did all that stuff in there and made it look very cool. It was definitely one of my absolute favorite music videos I've ever done. And the music was so good. That was the thing. I remember getting the email from the record label and they sent me all the raw, like, because her album wasn't out yet. And they sent me Muddy Waters first, which I love. In the muddy waters we're falling. Hold me close. Hold me down. Oh, no, no. In the muddy waters we're falling, falling. Anyways, she's a fantastic musician, but they sent me these raw, like, unreleased tracks. They were on SoundCloud at the time. And man, were they good. I remember listening to this and I was like, this is fire. Like, who is this? And my friend even asked me my hairstylist. He goes, is that a man or a woman? I said, oh, she's a woman. And he goes, oh, it is? And I said, yeah. I said, she's got this like whole, she's very androgynous, got this whole Bob Dylan vibe. She is very, very, very cool. I went in the back and we were hanging out and she's like, can you, and I jumped by the bar and I was like, do you want a shot? Because I could tell she was kind of like, it gets you going, you get singing, get a little, get a little loose. And she's like, oh yeah. So I think I poured her some bourbon. No, I mean, I think it was bourbon. It was either bourbon or whiskey. One of the two. And she was good, but it was fun. We were filming some little vignettes and stuff, which I can't find any of this stuff. This has been about like 6-7 years ago now. Woo, that was a long time ago. But it was a lot of fun. Yeah, she was a fantastic musician. The band was fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. Moving past trauma, the musical. It's very funny you say that because that is one of the things. You see the guitars behind me. If you are a Patreon member, I swear by the end of this year, there's going to be some music stuff on there. I am slowly working out. Putting all of this together as a one-man show, which is why I even started doing all this stuff in the first place. Gender neutral, is that what you would call that? Maybe androgynous isn't the right word for it. Anyways, it didn't matter. She had a gorgeous girlfriend, I believe, that she ended up getting married to at one time, who was very, very sweet. She was a lovely person and very, very cool. And what a voice! Ah! What a voice! Like no other. And it's funny because I remember when we were recording that music video, she said to me, she says, or my engineer said to me, and he's recorded a lot of really big bands, and he goes, this sounds this good because the microphone that she's singing into is literally like an $80 microphone. It's a standard microphone that people use on stage, but it's not something that you would necessarily bring to record like in a recording studio to get like amazing sound, right? It's essentially actually this microphone is just in a handheld format and much cheaper. But we were just in awe of the sound that was coming out of these microphones. And it's like, yeah, and it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You could have all the most expensive equipment in the world. Whatever. It all comes down to talent. It really does. It doesn't matter. People ask me all the time, what kind of camera should I get? Somebody reached out to me on Patreon the other day and said, hey, I'm thinking about starting my own YouTube vlog. I wanted to ask you about cameras, which, by the way, if you're a Patreon member or channel member or just a person in general, I know a lot about this stuff. Always feel free to reach out. I'll give you, if I have the time, I'll give you my honest opinion. And but as I tell people, and I remember hearing this from a very famous photographer back in the day, when somebody asked him what is the best camera, he goes, the one in your hand. And it's very true. It doesn't mean cell phone. It means whatever you have at the moment to capture the moment that you're in. That's the best camera. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because it's all about the moment. It's all about what you're capturing. It's all about your eye. The camera is just a delivery mechanism or a capture mechanism, as we like to say. Black Widower, thank you for joining Patreon. That's very kind of you. Something just popped up and said Patreon. Boom. Now I have to live up to my whole promise of putting music stuff on there. Oh God, it's going to be so bad. But it is something I'm very much working on. LP, an amazing voice and whistling like no one I've ever heard. Yeah, the whistling is crazy. Hey! Yeah, she's my favorite from that 3-parter, and really, it's the least popular video. It's got like 8 or 9 million views, but it's called Strange, and we filmed it in the electrical room at this bar because we wanted to get 3 songs. We only had like 5 hours in the bar. It was right down the street from her house, and I was like, and it had this weird echo in it. So when she's like clapping and she's playing harmonica in it, and it has this like reverb that's really, really cool. This really good like reverb in this little, concrete room. That's essentially what it was, this electrical room, and it's so dope. It's one of my favorite. This is the camera I filmed it all on, by the way. I had 3 of these. This is a Blackmagic design 4K camera from way back in the day. This is the original one. I was sponsored by this camera company at the time, so I had a bunch of them. And yeah, there you go. Try not to show all the reflections. It was a good time. It was a good time. I loved working with her so much. Yeah, what a great music video journey. I was really down with it. I was really honored to be a part of it, and yeah, it was cool. So Mover Nation, you guys know how I am in love and love to take my health and my sleep very seriously, and I've been trying some new products out this year, and that is premium CBD from NextEvo Naturals. Now, NextEvo Naturals premium CBD is going to be your best friend. Why? Because their nighttime complex triple action CBD is going to do wonders for your sleep. It has been doing wonders for me. I wake up every morning refreshed, hit the floor, feet on the floor, ready to greet the day, full of vim, vitality, and vigor, getting ready to make fantastic content for you guys. It's been a total game changer for my sleep. I kid you not. I took one last night, and I thought I was going to sleep through my alarm, but I didn't, because I usually religiously wake up at 6:30 every morning. But I get so much rest, and I use an Oura Ring, which actually tracks my sleep, and my sleep tracking over the last couple of months since I've been using NextEvo Naturals Premium CBD Nighttime Complex has been off the charts. I'm getting really right back on my sleep schedule, and it's been amazing. So the triple action CBD sleep does wonders, and let me tell you guys, you can join me in upgrading your wellness routine with the true experts in CBD, NextEvo Naturals. Go to nextevo.com/MPT. Use code MPT for 25% off. That's nextevo.com/MPT and use code MPT for 25% off your purchase. Check them out. I also take their stress complex as well, especially when I'm traveling on airplanes, like I'm doing next week, and I'm going to Obsess Fest. This is an Ask Me Anything type of situation today on the lives. Yes, I am clever. I try to be. Collier, I always enjoy your live podcast. When I miss one, I always try to go back and watch it. Well, thank you so much, Prometheus Predator. That's very cool. I often wonder when I see your name where it comes from, where your handle comes from. I still have my mom. Yeah, I do. Go Joe says cool. Ooh, that's a nice looking camera. Yeah, it is. It is officially become paperweight now. I don't even think it turns on anymore. In fact, I know it doesn't turn on anymore. But it certainly did the job. I mean, the video looks great. They were fabulous cameras when they came out. They still make great cameras. I just don't use them anymore. But yeah, it did the trick for sure. I think you can see it in one of those photos that I was sharing. But I really wish I had more photos. I've got I even contacted my assistant on the shoot, and I said, "Hey, did you ever take any photos?" And he goes, "No." And I was like, "I know, man." I was like, we weren't in those habits of like, "Hey, let's take photos." I've worked with a lot of famous people, and LP at that time wasn't as well known as she is now, obviously. But I just wasn't in the position where I would always take photos with people. Unless they asked for a photo, then I would be like, oh, okay, let's all get into a photo. I worked with the RZA from Wu-Tang Clan. We got a photo together. First music video I shot was with Billy Ray Cyrus and Dionne Warwick. Got photos with them. That was pretty groovy. Yeah, I wasn't in a habit of really of taking. I think it was also the time too. You really weren't like, it's not like it is today, where you're like, oh, I'm going to take selfies, or I'm going to take this. It was really frowned upon when you pulled like your phone out on set. People don't like that. Now there's so much that you have to use your phone for to control things. Back then, there wasn't much I was using the phone for at that point in time. Everything was still sort of how it was, I guess. Interesting though. Harry Potter's Beard says, I love photography. I am no good at it, but I still love it. But that's the thing. It's about capturing your perspective. It's about capturing your perspective. Life is a matter of perspective, and I hope you all choose yours wisely. So during my choose yours wisely, maybe that'll be my tagline. Life is a matter of perspective. Choose yours wisely. Choose yours widely. Choose yours wisely. There we go. So what was I saying? Montecito, Good Life TV, interviewing. We get talking about Mansfield, Ohio, which is where I'm from. And I mentioned how people would know Mansfield, Ohio from my film, A Murder in Mansfield, but probably more so from a very famous film, one of my top fives for sure, of all time, directed by the amazing Frank Darabont, starring Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins, The Shawshank Redemption. Was filmed in my hometown of Mansfield, Ohio. I have filmed in there myself. It's very, very cool. But one of the things that he brought up, the host Dean brought up to me, and we just got engaged because this is also like his favorite movie of all time. Ironically, it's about a man who is in prison for murdering his wife, but he's wrongfully convicted. He did not kill her, but he is in. But you don't know that. But he was. There is a part. So he's innocent. He's in prison. And if you haven't seen the movie by now, then I'm just going to spoiler alert. Catherine Billinghurst says bourbon is whiskey. I think. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. I will celebrate 3 years of no alcohol on November the 5th. So in a couple weeks. So I guess I forget. I was never into dark liquor anyways. I was a vodka and beer drinker, but not like crappy beer. I was into drinking Belgian ale tripels, which have lots of alcohol in them and which have lots of calories. I remember when I quit drinking and I got a hold of because I'm very health conscious. And even when I would drink, I'd still get up and run a few miles in the morning. People would be like, are you kidding me? He said, I looked at the calorie list on some of these things I used to drink, and I swear to God, the bottle of, it was Rochefort number 12 or number 18, and I must have drank probably... So they're very expensive here in the United States. This is it looks like a regular bottle of beer. It's 12 ounces. Very high alcohol content, like 12% alcohol or something. I mean, that's a lot of alcohol in a beer. But they're very tasty, but they're very high in calories. They're 500 calories for a 12-ounce bottle. They're if you can get them anywhere in the United States, I think they sell them at like a place called Bevmo, and they sold them at this one liquor store that used to be by my house. But they were like $18 a bottle for one bottle. It was crazy. And I remember the person who introduced me to it. He's like, you've got to check this out. And it's delicious. When I went to Amsterdam, in Amsterdam, where they, of course, make it and they bring it in from Europe, et cetera, it was $1 a bottle. And I remember I got to my Airbnb and I went to the little grocery store on the corner and I saw that and I must have bought 20 bottles or something. And I was in Amsterdam for a week and a half and I went through those 20 bottles pretty quickly. And but I must have come back from Europe at that time a good 10 to 15 pounds heavier. So yeah, drinking 500 calorie beers times 20, what is that, 10,000 calories? Yeah, that's a lot. Wow. That's a lot. Anyways, not a healthy lifestyle choice for sure. Eating lots of cheese and dairy over there too, because there's just something for those of you that live in Europe versus those of us that live in the United States. And for those of you who've been to Europe that are from the United States, when you go over and you have dairy in Europe, or if you go over to like Australia, or especially New Zealand and it's grass-fed cows, the dairy, eggs, cheese, milk tastes completely different and unbelievable. I'm not a big eater of dairy here in the United States, but when I go over to Europe, butter, all that, I'll just gorge myself. And it's also weird because if I drank, I would gain the weight, and I eat a lot of like chocolates and stuff over there too because I have a definite penchant for sweets when I go over there. But I'll gorge on everything, and it doesn't make you sick. Like there's a lot of people that are quote lactose intolerant here in the United States. A lot of people that have problems with dairy, meat, things of that nature. When you have stuff that's over there, that's like, been very that has had no processing, not even minimal, no processing, no chemicals, no hormones. It tastes completely different. It's delicious, and you probably try to eat all of it. You can, and even coffee. Like you pour just like, I would never buy cream here in the United States, but over there I'll put the milk in my coffee. It tastes so good. Oh, amazing. Sobriety. Yeah, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I do sometimes take medical marijuana edibles at night. Not often. CBD, NextEvo CBD is not psychoactive. It's not any of that. There's no buzz. There's no nothing. You don't feel weird, anything like that. But I would take medical marijuana edibles that are here available in California, and those are cool. But again, I do that at night, and it's also very rare. I was never into, and especially never into smoking things. I'm asthmatic. I keep my little inhaler right here by my desk, and yeah. So I don't do any of that smoking stuff. I remember a long time ago in my early 20s, bought a pack of cigarettes and smoked that pack of cigarettes. And I remember thinking to myself, what are you doing? Like, what is wrong with you, man? Never got into that again. I drink piss off a scabby leg. I know that sounds disgusting, but it's a saying in my country. It sounds terrible in the international context. It just means you don't have a favorite drink. Black Widower, that that is a saying for everyone. I drink piss off a scabby leg. I know that sounds disgusting, but it's a saying in my country that it sounds terrible in the international context. It just means you don't have a favorite drink. I had to repeat that twice. That's hilarious. Yeah, I wouldn't think they would have anything to do with that. That's hilarious. How do I decompress after covering heavy cases? Oh yes, this is the AMA, so you're asking me questions. So I don't cover a lot of like heavy cases, but I do listen to a lot of people's trauma, for sure. But how I decompress is I have although I didn't go to the gym this morning, which has thrown off my day a lot. I box. I do the speed bag workout every morning, and I exercise a lot. Not that I'm in like some kind of crazy fitness model shape. I used to be many years ago, but I definitely do. I definitely decompress through exercise and through being active. I think just activity in general, something I talk a lot about with Tara, with trauma survivors and things, is literally is literally sorry, I lost my train of thought. Is making sure you maintain a solid routine, an exercise routine. Maintaining a routine is really, really good. I've gotten out of routine. I used to play guitar every day. I've gotten out of routine of that lately, and it's something that's bothering me a lot. I'm like, you got to get back into that, man. Like, you were doing so good and working on this little one-man show thing that you want to do, and then it's I got kind of sidetracked. Well, not sidetracked. I got creating all this other stuff. So, never smoked either. Marie Hernandez, can't stand the smell. My dad was a 2-pack a day smoker. Though I lived in thought I lived in heaven majority of the time in my home because of all the smoke in the house. It was funny. I was telling somebody the other day. I said, and yeah, thank God I'm not polluted by secondhand smoke. I remember being in high school. I met somebody at a church youth group. I had a friend that went to a youth group, and I was like, okay, I'll just go to the church youth group. Let's see what this is about. And the guy came back from, he lived in San Francisco. And, I grew up in the middle of Ohio. And I remember him talking about San Francisco. And obviously I was very intrigued with the West Coast and warm weather and things of that nature. But the selling point was me. He goes, so they passed a law in San Francisco, which means that you can't smoke in bars in San Francisco. So I can wear a sweater to the bar or a restaurant, and then I can wear the sweater the next day, and it doesn't smell like cigarette smoke. And I said, oh, that is incredible. Oh my goodness. I was stoked about that. Hence, I came out here to LA, and yeah, you could not smoke indoors. So cigarette smoke, yeah. Oh, Collier, Prometheus Predator asks, Collier, do you ever eat sweets to treat yourself? Yeah, I do. In fact, last night, but I buy like organic chocolate and low sugar chocolate. And I also buy, and they should be a sponsor of the show. These are Skinny Dipped is a company. It was a mother-daughter company. I buy these little things. They're expensive, but they're made with allulose, which is a version of sugar that does not break down in your liver like sugar does. So it's not real sugar, if that makes sense. It's a sugar derivative. It's made from corn mostly, or fruits, but it's interesting because it's sweet and it's not too sweet. Things like stevia or monk fruit, I buy those monk fruit chocolates that have no sugar in them too. I don't do the sugar alcohols. I try to. It makes me feel weird, and it's also just not good for you. But monk fruits, it's overly sweet. The stevia is overly sweet, and it's too synthetic. Allulose, I find, is less sweet than sugar because I don't really like sweet stuff. But allulose. But to answer your question, last night I had a breakdown, and I bought peanut butter filled pumpkins from an organic brand. They were like the organic, at the Whole Foods, they had the organic like Halloween candy, and that's what I bought, and I ate like 9 of these little peanut butter filled pumpkins. It's terrible. I don't even want to think about it. Like 600 calories later, it's just so bad. That we have to love ourselves sometime and have to treat ourselves. Oh yeah, absolutely, you have to do. None of us say that. Okay, I'm just a very sick woman. That's funny. That's funny, Black Widow. No, you're all good. Tan, everyone needs some alone time. Yeah, alone time is yes. Dark chocolate, good for you. Raw stevia is far less sweet than regular stevia. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that, Laura O'Neill. That is good to know. That's good to know. Raw stevia is, now would that be the stevia in the raw, like the sugar in the raw? I remember that when that came out, my mom was, we were putting it in our iced tea, the sugar in the raw. Do you have days when you just shut down and cannot be in tune with others or even yourself, and finding it just too hard to communicate at all? Days you need to just say in your own space. Yes, I do have those days. Sometimes I'm just like, I just don't feel like doing this. I just don't feel like dealing with people. Today was one of those days, not coming on the live today, but I was I had a lot of phone calls, and then I was done with the phone calls, and I was getting ready for the live, and then another person reached out to me, and it's about And the people were reaching out to me because there's some chaos going around an event that I'm going to, and they were warning me about it, and they were saying, "Oh, this is what we're reading online. Be careful, etc., etc." And I was very frustrated because I was like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't really want to talk about this right now because I have too much going on. I want to get ready for our live. I want to talk to you guys. I want to be in a good headspace. I think talking a lot, the phone calls, I used to be a big fan of the phone call. I still am, but sometimes I look at the clock and I'm like, okay, I spent 4 hours, or over the course of 4 hours, I spent 3 hours of it on the phone, and then dealing with stuff and walking the doggies and et cetera, et cetera. So there was a lot that was going on. I think that stresses me out. But taking time for yourself is the only way you can keep things in balance. Collier, how do you respond? How you respond to people when under a tremendous amount of stress? Something that was very interesting to me. I remember I had dated a girlfriend years ago, and I was extremely stressed out. It was right when I was making a murder in Mansfield, or getting ready to, and we're in that final phase in like the last year of getting ready to get into production and stuff. So this was like, late 2010s, and she said to me, Collier, there's something a professor that in my university used to say. I think she went to University of Texas at Austin, and she said to me, how do you eat an elephant? And I was like, I don't know. And of course I'm stressed out, right? But I'm like, I don't know. How? And she goes, one bite at a time. So I try to remind myself when I'm in those situations where I'm really run ragged and I'm really feel like I'm trying not to chase my tail. And a lot of this has to do with, if I get out of my routine, I get into this like chasing my tail, and it takes a couple of days for it to catch up to me. But then I go, okay, I got to take a moment. Right now I'm very busy, and I'm getting ready to travel next week. There's chaos around that situation. I've got helping a friend move on Sunday. That's the whole thing. The things I do for my friends, but the things my friends do for me too. So I can't complain. But they need my help, and I'm happy to help them. But there's a lot of things that need to come. So I need to always make sure I'm in a good space with myself. Hamster wheeling. Yeah, Court McNeil. You know about the hamster wheeling. You know what I go through. You feel me. Piece by piece. I think that is a feeling of being numb that is good, as it helps you to regroup your thoughts and take care of yourself. I would agree with that, Prometheus Predator. What is pink salt? Here's here. Drama is so overwhelming to me as a drama. Yeah, absolutely, Tam Jules. Drama. Drama is definitely overwhelming. I do not like drama. I am not a drama person. I think back on my life and I'm like, God, I let a lot of drama go in there. At Collier Landry, do you think you have stayed at the age of 11 in any way that people who've had traumatic experiences lives can kind of stop at those points to embrace normality? So I was on this show, interviewed yesterday, as I was saying, Good Life TV. I'll post it when it comes out. And I was talking about the process of making my film, A Murder in Mansfield. And I remember when it came out, and I'm traveling around the world. This is like 2018, 2019 with the film, and speaking. This is all like right before the pandemic. And I remember it sort of hit me, and I was like, okay. I'm like, all right, I'm good to go. Moving on. I'm ready to start my life. And that's what I shared on that show yesterday. That was the thing that I remember specifically saying to myself, now you can start your life. Now you can do whatever you do. I was thinking about it this morning. Like, what do I want to do? What do I really want to do with the rest of my life? Because I think that when you are able to bookend these periods, these traumatic periods of your life, or do something positive with that, you get into a moment where you're like, okay, I can start living my life now. I checked that box on my list, my to-do list, and now I can move on. Right now I can create the life that I want to create, because so much of my life leading up to that was to tell that story. Like everything I did from moment of, moment of my mother goes missing to out there with the film, was all like just a blur. It was a roller coaster of just, I got to figure out a way to do something with this story. I got to figure out a way to cope with this in my life and do something with this. And when that finally happened, and when I was out there and I was traveling with it and I was speaking about it and doing something with it, that was the moment where I was like, okay, I can start my life now. And so I think back on, even with this YouTube channel, right? People years ago told me to do YouTube. Collier, you need to do YouTube. You need to do YouTube. You need to do a podcast. You need to do that. And I wanted to do these things, but I had to do all of that other stuff first. I have to remind myself of that because I get down. You ask me if things bring you down, like time and energy, and like, okay, I should have been doing this. I should have been talking about this stuff 10 years ago with people. I should have been engaging with people live on this. I would be much farther along in the work that I want to be doing, but then I wouldn't have made my film either, which is what propelled me into that, because that would have probably put all of that in jeopardy. I wouldn't have been able to do the things I did. So my experience in going through all of this, in my unique perspective, my unique lens of not a psychologist, not a lawyer, not in law enforcement, just a guy who went through stuff, life works out how it's supposed to. That's my takeaway. Life gives you what you can handle, and then some. And I was talking on the show yesterday, and I said, it's really hard. It's like you get to a state of enlightenment in a way where when you go through these circumstances and you come out the other side and you say, okay, I am better for what I went through, and I wouldn't change anything in my life because of that. That's a really powerful and empowering statement, and it's a really empowering situation to be in. But it is something absolutely that if you know, you know. And I feel like when you can separate yourself in a way and come out the other side through these circumstances, and you can take a step back and say, I'm a better person for what I went through, and I wouldn't change things. That's like the ultimate state of enlightenment I think that we're all trying to get to in a lot of ways. Not saying that I'm some sort of enlightened being or anything like that, but I do feel like if you're looking at it in a very specific lens of life and what is the meaning of life and what existentially, like, what is this? That is what that is. It's like the height of consciousness and to also accept that, like, now you are leaving a mark on the world and leaving things as leaving the state of the world in a better place than when you found it, on showing that you have been through something, and then that therefore will make the world a better place because of your experience that you've shared with the world. That's a really cool thing. That's what I talked with them on the program about. Mover Nation, happy Friday the 13th. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will. Yvette asks. Louisable. I admire you, Collier, for sharing your story. I'm not as brave. Stopped talking about mine since I was 10 years old. Well, you don't have to. Also, some people like to talk. I'm one of those people who likes to talk. I like to share things. It doesn't mean it's for everybody. Just make sure that it doesn't affect you in a way, and don't look down on yourself or feel bad or anything because you're not doing that, because that's not really. Don't look backward. You're not going that way. Yes, you're right, Court McNeil. Absolutely. Don't shoulda on yourself yourself not being fair to Collier. You did it when you coulda. Thank you so much, TM Jules. Trauma, we at times revisit it when difficult situations happen, the loss and the trauma, but we can't afford to stay there. Friends and a good therapist helps us to move forward and have some kind of closure. Absolutely. Yvette asks, Collier Landry, would you say it was easy to move on once you confronted your dad face to face? I'm sure doing your documentary helped too. Yeah, it was all the height of catharsis, as I said, and it was that chapter where I said, hey, okay, I did that. Check that off the list. Moving on. Moving past trauma. Mover Nation, thank you all so much for tuning in. Check me out next Wednesday live on the channel. I will have Elizabeth Stout. She is the host of Trigger Therapy, a Parkland Massacre survivor. She'll be sharing her tremendously courageous story on this program. An absolutely fabulous interview I'm looking forward to for you guys catching up. Also, please, if you would, remember to click the like button. If you like this video, it helps with the algorithm. Subscribe if you wouldn't mind. Share with your friends. Share this content. Thank you all. If you can afford to become a channel member, I do meet and greets every month, live face-to-face meet and greets where you guys can ask me anything you want, but usually you guys engage with one another, and we have built a wonderful community, Mover Nation. I'm just so thankful for all of you being a part of this. On that note, I'm Collier Landry, and this is Moving Past Trauma. Thanks, y'all.
This podcast is made possible by support from listeners just like you. For exclusive content around this podcast, please consider supporting me via Patreon by going to collierlandry.com/support. Please subscribe via Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from, and please leave us a 5-star review. If you want to see video episodes of this podcast, please check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Collier Landry. You can find links to additional resources in the show notes of today's episode. This podcast is a production of Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Collier Landry.